Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Ask the Sams Anything About Marriage. We are marriage mentors Jiva and Salojana Sam. He's Jiva. And so, anyways, we guarantee breakthrough for couples on the brink of breakdown in as little as 10 weeks. And if you'd like to know more about what we do, you can go to thesams.ca. And if you need help with your marriage, simply send us a direct message with the words no divorce and we'll follow up with you. So please say hi in the comments section and let us know where you're watching from. And we like the interaction and also like to know, where you're watching from. It's good.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, and so as we're just getting set, we have an exciting session planned for you today
Mm.
with our friend, intimacy expert Monica Tanner. But before we bring her on board, would you do us a favor? If you're already on, then please share this with your friends on your timeline or invite them, tag them, text them, call them, drag them, whatever you can do for them to be in on today's session
Mhm.
because it's going to be an awesome session. And now we also want to let you know that there's a reason why we call our live stream Ask the Stamps anything about marriage, because really there's no question that we would consider to be insignificant or taboo on our sessions. You can actually post your questions right during the live stream as a comment, or you can send us a direct message. Sometimes we find people are a little bit reluctant to ask questions on a public forum like a live stream. And so if you're a little bit uneasy about posting it right here, don't worry. Just send us a direct message, and we always follow up with everybody who is okay. Anybody who sends us a comment and question, and we will, if we are not able to answer it right away, quite often it'll become the theme for a future session.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, a lot of our themes come from questions that you, the viewers, have asked us, and so we rely on you to help us to address some of the issues that you're facing. We always have a theme for every session, but even today, we encourage you to completely interact with us as
Mhm.
Monica's sharing her responses to some of the questions we're going to throw at her. If you have some questions very specifically that you'd like to ask Monica, then please put them on the chat as well. We're monitoring your chat, whether you're joining us on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube. We can see what you're saying. All right, and so we will follow up with you. Okay, so just one more time, just ask you to share this, invite others to join us, and we're gonna introduce Monica, and then bring her on and turn her loose on you. Right? Okay, so Monica Tanner is married to her best friend. She's the boss mom to four small humans. She's a weekly podcaster at On the Brighter Side, Marriage for Entrepreneurs. She's a relationship and intimacy sexpert. Okay, as a matter of fact, that's how we met. Monica was through her podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
yeah. And our episode actually just came out about 2 weeks ago, uh, just about, not even quite 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so Monica, as we have already said, her specialty, is intimacy, and since we've been following Monica and her posts over the last, not quite a year, a few months or so, like we know that what she's talking about is something that is very genuine. It's true to life.
Mm-hmm.
If you see some of the things that she shares about her and Ben, and some of the challenges that she has set up for people to follow,
Mm-hmm.
you know that like this is really her jam. Okay, so let's maybe a little bit uh, formally tell you what Monica actually helps you to do.
Mm-hmm. So she helps married couples reignite the passion in their relationship, rediscover intimacy, like they never imagined possible and reinvent their
Sexuality.
their sexuality through signature proven system called training in the art of sex beyond.
Piano. Hey, so you notice that there's a liberal
Sorry.
sprinkling of sex in all that we've said about Monica. And so we're just so excited because we wanted to have Monica on here for a while,
Yeah.
and just wait for the right time to do it. And so without further ado, let's bring Monica on board. And so, in whatever way you can welcome Monica, say hi, and Monica, there you are.
Yeah.
Hello, hello.
Okay, all right. So there we are, side by side now. Okay. So welcome, Monica. It's such a pleasure to have you with us. And of course, like intimacy is one of those words that like everybody uses, right?
Right.
When it comes to describing a marriage, and yet one of the things we've also noticed, because of being in the marriage mentorship space, just like you notice, is that intimacy is really not present in marriages that the way even people expected it to be, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so we're going to do a bit of a deep dive today, and we already got some questions that we've got together for Monica. But friends, any of you have any questions, please put them in the chat as well, and we will ask you those questions on your behalf. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's start with the number one question here, Slogan.
Yeah, the first one is, how would you define intimacy in a marriage? What are some telltale signs of a marriage where a couple is clearly enjoying intimacy?
Awesome. Well, I love this question. Intimacy is so huge and so broad and so encompassing. So I'll just try to give kind of an easy definition, which is intimacy is your connection to another person, right? So it doesn't have to be, I think this is your next question, but it doesn't have to have anything to do with sex. Intimacy is just how you connect with another human being. And some telltale signs that the level of intimacy in a marriage is high is that both partners feel that they can comfortably show up as themselves, that in all of their imperfections, that they can share with each other their hopes and dreams, desires and fantasies, as well as their insecurities and their imperfections and their struggles. And they will be loved and accepted. There is a environment of trust and safety, and just and love and support. So that is what intimacy means to me. But I think we'll get more into kind of a more sexual intimacy as we go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So even when we were introducing you, mentioned a while ago, there's sex espionage and sexpert and intimacy all woven in there. And so, and even like when we look at posts, on Facebook and inquiries that you get more so than others in the business, people are almost always asking us something about sex, and people would even sometimes say, well, the intimacy is not there. And when you probe them, why is that? Well, we're not having sex together the way that we used to. And so Monica, tell us a little bit about why intimacy seems to be so connected with sex, even though, as you just explained, it is about more than sex. It is really about the connection between two human beings. So fire away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, intimacy can be present between, siblings, between children, parents and children, between coworkers and neighbors. I mean, you can be intimately connected to a whole myriad of people in a whole myriad of ways, right? But sex, to me, is the highest level of human connection. It is the most, it encompasses all the different types of intimacy, including mental and physical and spiritual and intellectual. It's kind of the culmination of everything. It's as close as two human beings can possibly be. However, it's very complicated because, of course, you can have sex without being intimate. You can have sex without feeling connected to the human you're having sex with, but you can also be very intimate with another human being without having sex. So ideally in a marriage, when you are truly intimate and sexual with each other, you're feeling close in all of those different areas. You're feeling spiritually connected and intellectually connected and recreationally connected, and you're enjoying emotional, physical, and that sexual intimacy. So, I think when you think intimacy, a lot of people think sex, but it absolutely isn't just sex, right? And if you're just having sex without feeling connected in those other ways, it's kind of empty sex. So when we talk about, questions that people have about sex in their marriage, it's because it's very complicated and it's a highly charged subject. And we get all kinds of messages from all different places, including, there's a lot of shame attached to our sexuality as we're growing up, most of us, depending on what kind of circumstances we grew up in. A lot of times sex is not talked about. A lot of times it's shamed. And then, of course, we have Hollywood and the porn industry that gives us all these types of, negative messaging around our own sexuality and healthy sex and all of these things. So it's a lot to unpack. And then when we get married, we get to, fully actualize our sexuality, but there's a lot to unravel there. So that's why I think it's so difficult to, it's not something that like once we get married, we just know how to do it, right? We have to learn with each other what it means to be truly sexually intimate with each other.
That's so awesome. And obviously, even the various forms of intimacy that you talked about, they're all interconnected, right? Yeah. And so
I like the way you explain how sex is the highest level of intimacy we can have. That is so true. And first of all, you have to be connected in every other way to truly enjoy that sex part. I like that. Yeah. So the next question: how does a couple begin to lose intimacy in their marriage, and what are some contributing factors?
Yeah, so that's a great question because, when we get married, we're highly attracted to each other, right? The sexual energy is very charged. We want to be together forever. We want to hang out with each other. We want to know everything about each other. We want to spend every waking moment with each other, right? And so, of course, that feeling of intimacy and attraction is really, really high. And then we enter adult life, right? And we start our careers and we start having children and we start, all of the adult responsibilities like car payments and mortgages and baseball practice and all the things that life just has for us. And I think the way we start to lose intimacy is we start to deprioritize our partners in our marriage, right? We start to put all of these other things ahead of them. And so, a contributing factors to a loss of intimacy, I call them the intimacy death traps, is you've got complacency, you've got people, you start to see each other for, you start to decide that maybe your spouse is a slob, or, you don't like the way they chew, or, you start to notice all of these things that you may not absolutely just love about your partner. You start to get really comfortable around them and you stop being curious about what they're thinking and what they're experiencing, and you feel like you just know them, right? And then you have hurt feelings and resentment start to form when expectations go unmet, right? When marriage isn't the fairy tale that, you built it up to be in your mind. So there's all kinds of reasons why there's a loss of intimacy. But the real truth is that we stop prioritizing our marriage and our partner. And so that's kind of where we get ensnared in that intimacy death trap that just kind of is this negative feedback loop where, we stop choosing to be curious and excited and in love with each other.
Yeah. So Monica, essentially what you're saying is when we stop or when we do not continue to maintain that connection at all these other levels, like we did before we got married, in the typical Western style marriage was also arranged, so we didn't have that.
Different for you guys, yes.
Yeah, but the prioritizing definitely. I think it's a little bit maybe another way for us to describe it. The death intimacy is actually a slow death. Like it doesn't just happen overnight. That's what you're saying. Like the resentments build up and so on. And so slowly, without even realizing it, you're actually contributing to loss of intimacy. And then one day it's like, oh my goodness, we've gone, 9 months without sex, 2 years without sex, whatever. We don't want to touch each other. We don't want to talk to each other. But it really,
sleeping in different rooms and
but all of that, didn't start. It was not an overnight thing. It's it's by attrition, right? Yeah. Okay. So now that we've identified, how intimacy, tends to wane in the marriage. So now you're the expert. So talk to us about how do we restore intimacy in a marriage where it's in decline, or maybe even like couple may feel like it's gone out the window. Now, in the post that we had on LinkedIn and Facebook, we had a few scenarios. These are posts that are like actually like real couples. One of the spouses in all cases that has shared their story, and I'm sure like none of those stories took you by surprise because you've run into all of them before. So maybe talk a little bit about some of those steps that a couple can take like right now to begin to restore the intimacy of their marriage.
Yeah. So before I answer that, because that's a fantastic question, I love how you pointed out that intimacy is it's a slow kind of thing. Nobody just kind of wakes up one morning and decides that they are no longer intimate, right? It's kind of like a slow process, and it's very normal. It happens in every marriage. So if you're feeling disconnected or something like that, it's not, it's not uncommon. It's extremely normal. It happens to everyone. But just because it's normal doesn't have to mean that it's necessary. So just because, something is pretty common doesn't mean that it's just the way that it is and you have to live with it. So in answering your question, how do you start to restore intimacy that was lost in a marriage? Well, I would just say that the very first step is to just decide that your marriage and the person that you're married to is important to you enough for you to take some action, right? And so I would suggest that you start small. Start with the little things that you did when you were dating. So start asking your partner questions. Start noticing the little things that you like about your partner and start pointing those out to them. Start finding ways to get to know them again, to spend time with them again, start dating them again. All of those things. Just assume that you are with a stranger and don't get into this trap of feeling like I know everything about them. There's nothing to learn about my partner, because you could be spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with your partner. And because you are different people and because you have different opinions and different experiences and different life, things that have happened to you in your life, you're going to experience your life differently. So there's always things that you can can learn about your partner, even if you feel like you've known them forever, right? Everybody's always learning and growing and changing. And I am not the same person as I was when I woke up this morning, right? I've had experiences that have influenced my thinking, and who I am. And so you can always be curious about your partner. And so when you start to recognize the good in them and you start to get curious about who they are and what they're experiencing and what their life is like, that's how you start to slowly rekindle that flame, rebuild that intimacy. So I would definitely caution against like jumping out onto a lot of people think, oh, we're feeling really disconnected. Let's go, on an expensive 2-week vacation to someplace tropical, right? Well, that doesn't always work. You might get there and not enjoy your time together because you haven't put the time in to really get to know this person again. So that novelty, we are all looking for novelty and newness. And you can create that in a long-term committed relationship by committing to be curious and learn about your partner every single day as you go, and then make memories together. So that's the importance of date night, is really bonding and making memories and getting back to, that giddy teenage, having fun, making memories, experiences that you have together.
Yeah, we would very much relate to what you just said, because we've had couples do exactly what you said, like book an extensive holiday, in a really nice place, good location, secluded, and all this kind of stuff, thinking that would rekindle the intimacy, and then they're just as miserable, in a beautiful setting.
You're just paying a lot of money to be miserable.
Yeah.
Exactly, it's a very expensive way to be miserable, right? And so this like makes a lot of sense. And again, if the loss of intimacy was a slow process, like step by step, that things started to slide, then restoring that intimacy is also going to be a slow process, right? The rekindling is not just lighting a fire, it goes off on you, turns into a roaring flame. It's really like adding, one little piece of wood here, a little bit there, and till eventually it gets to that point where it is that roaring fire. Yeah. So Monica, you just touched on this, but we're going to ask a very specific question around that, and that has to do with date night.
Yeah. So why is date night so important, and what prompted you to publish the date night journal?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Yeah, the date night journal is something so fun because one of the things that really creates intimacy is this idea of bonding and creating a life together and making memories, having the opportunity to create your future together, but also to enjoy your past, right? And so date nights are so important because it's such a fantastic way to build that emotional and physical as well as sexual intimacy by intentionally setting aside time to prioritize your partner. So even in the busiest seasons of life, you've got everybody has 168 hours in a day. I'm sorry, in a week. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how famous you are or who you know, nobody gets more than 168 hours in a week. So it's a matter of how you're going to prioritize the hours in that week. And if you're going to make your partner important enough to take up 3 hours of that week. And so if you're going to spend 3 hours on date night, this is uninterrupted time where you're not talking about the kids, you're not talking about business or finances or anything stressful. You're going to do something enjoyable together where you can get to know each other, where you can bond, where you can make memories, where you can get excited. And it doesn't have to be expensive or elaborate or far from home to be highly effective. It just has to be intentional. And so that's date night. And then the date night journal is just a really fun way to record those memories. You can write down what you did for date night, what you learned about your partner, and then what you never want to forget about that specific 3 hours. And I promise if you do that, you will protect your marriage against so many of what I call intimacy death traps. So again, you're not going to want to talk about problems or anything like that. Talk about something you're excited about. Talk about what you're looking forward to. Talk about things that you feel insecure about. You can open up and share all those things with your partner in an intentional date night. And that's how you stay connected over the long term for years and years and decades and decades.
Mhm.
Wow.
That is awesome, and I like one of the things that we really learned from you, is this whole thing about the 3 hours uninterrupted time, because like we've always had date night in some form or the other,
Mhm.
but we've never really set some very strict boundaries, around that and protecting that. Like we've always had a night dedicated to just the two of us, and even when I'm listening to you, a parallel came to mind, because one of the things we stress with people, because we come at it from a very spiritual perspective, is if you want to develop intimacy with God, then you've got to take time to be with Him,
Mhm.
like just on your own, like not in church, not in talking to Him in prayer, or reading the Bible, but just to be with Him. And so there's a great intimacy is developed, when you are actually, with someone, in that kind of without any agenda, really. Yeah, yeah. And so friends, if you joined us late, just now, we're talking with Monica Tanner, who's an intimacy sexpert, and we're talking all things intimacy. And if you missed what she shared until now, oh my goodness, there was this gold there, and you
Mhm.
need to go back and watch the replay and catch all of that. But Monica, I'm going to add a supplementary question to the whole date night, because we've been following you. We know some of the things that you and Ben do for date night, and some of them are like really hilarious. So so and one of the things I'm finding is that for some people, date night is actually a new concept,
Mm-hmm.
or they get intimidated by it. Well, we don't hardly have any money, and so if we go out every Friday night or Saturday night or whatever, we can't afford it. Those kind of things. Uh, share some typical ideas that somebody can
Mhm.
like do like tomorrow, or the day after,
Yeah.
and say, hey, this is date night. So give us some very practical things that somebody can do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, date night doesn't have to be expensive, elaborate, or far from home, but you do have to get creative and be intentional, right? So if you're feeling some barriers against date night, you could try just going for a walk. If you've got kids, you could put them down, put them to bed, and just walk around your house, holding hands, watching the sunset, right? You could sit on the porch and grab some takeout and sit on the porch and watch the sunset and listen to the birds chirp. You could, find a beautiful space like a river or a lake or something that you enjoy. And my husband and I love to just go get cheap takeout and walk in the park together. That's one of my favorite date nights, right? We love to go biking. We love to go kayaking, especially in the summer. We have all kinds of just really physical, outdoor, very cheap, inexpensive date nights that we like to go on. But I mean, I just did an interview with one of my friends, and she talked about one of her favorite dates when they didn't have any money was to go to Costco, and you get like $1.50 hot dog and a drink, and you sit there and you chat and you just enjoy being together, right? And if you have kids and you can't get away from your kids, go get $1.50 hot dog and a drink, bring it back to your home, put on a movie for the kids, and lock yourselves in the bedroom. It just, again, it doesn't have to be elaborate to be very effective. It just has to say to one another, you are important to me. I am willing to set aside this time to, like you said, Jiva, be with you, get to know you, make memories with you, right? And those are some of, I mean, I remember when my husband and I were in college and we had not a penny to our name. We would go get 50-cent hamburger. Oh, I think it was like $50 movie night. So it would cost us $1 to see a movie, and we would go get $1 junior bacon cheeseburger from Wendy's and sneak it in the movies, right? And so we went on a whole date was $3 for the two of us every single week. And those are some of my favorite memories, was eating a junior bacon cheeseburger, going to see an old movie that had been out forever, right? In the movie theater with my hubby. It's like those things get our cherished memories. And as you get older and set aside a budget for that, you're showing each other that, hey, you are important to me. And this is an important way for me to spend my time, my energy, my money, and anything else that I have is to be close to you. So that's really the importance of date night. Again, it doesn't really matter what you do. It's just that you set the intention and you do it together.
Mhm. No, that's really awesome because like you just made it so simple
Yeah.
and so easy for anybody to do, regardless of where you're at. Monica, talk a
Not
little.
spending too much
Mhm.
money.
Yeah, like one of the objections that sometimes people have raised is about the children. So it's like they look at us and say, well, you guys, you're past middle age, your children are all out of the home, and you're in a comfortable place, financially and so on. And whereas here we are, we just had, like 3 kids under 5, and I know you had your children close to each other. So if you think back to those days, like what are some creative ways in which a couple in that kind of a setting or those kind of circumstances make date night happen and still feel like we did it.
Yeah. So this is one of my very favorite topics to talk about because I have, like you said, I have 4 kids. They're very close together. Right now I have 3 teenagers, right? But they were all young together. And one of the things that I talk about a lot on interviews is I am a very imperfect mother. I'm making tons of mistakes as a mom, right? It's my first time. I've never done it before. But what I know I'm doing right, regardless of all the mistakes as I make as of a mother, is that my kids will know that I loved their dad and that we put each other first, that we supported each other, we loved each other, we put each other first. Our kids see us kissing and holding each other and making out in the pantry, and they see us setting aside this time for date night because they know that we know that it's important, right? And so if there is a legacy that I'm leaving for my kids, it's not that I was a perfect mom and that I had all the answers and I did everything right, but it's that I loved their dad fiercely, right? And my hope is that someday they'll grow up and they'll find their own amazing love story to create and home environment to make for their children as well. And that they have that blueprint of what it looks like to really have a romantic friendship, love, passionate relationship. So I think one of the most important things you can do is show your kids how important date night is. If that means locking your door for 3 hours a week and not letting anyone in, that's okay. Your kids are going to be fine. Or leaving them with your parents or a neighbor kid or something like that. They're going to be okay. They're definitely going to make, and what they're going to pull out of that is that mom and dad love each other and it's a priority. Their relationship is a priority for them because hopefully if you do it right, eventually you get to retire, your kids leave the house, all other things go, but your relationship is there forever. So, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, when the kids leave the house, right, we'll focus on our relationship, or, we have more time, we'll focus on our relationship. But unfortunately, that's usually too late. And, if you haven't been prioritizing it all along, there's not a whole lot there when the circumstances change and you really do need each other. So I definitely, kids is a great motivator to actually prioritize your relationship even more, even though it sounds a little counterintuitive, like, oh, my kids need me, right? But they also need to see that you love their mom or their dad.
Yeah, I think for our Father's Day session this year, we had our friend Joel Alcaripane on, And so the theme basically was one of the best gifts the father can give his children is to love their mother.
Always.
Yeah. And so you're saying the opposite. Of course, it's true as well. Is that the example that you set is so important. So like we have to find a way, and like one of the things that we've suggested to couples when they have children is like find another couple who also has children,
Right.
and
And switch.
Take turns.
exactly, just do some kind of swapping.
Fantastic.
And take turns doing it. But make sure that it does happen. So Monica, I'm going to ask a question that is we didn't really formally ask you to answer this one, but before we got on live, we talked about the Seduce Your Spouse challenge, that you have done before and you're going to do it again. Tell us a little bit about why you actually initiated this, and how can that help somebody that's finding that their intimacy is waning.
Yeah, well, the Seduce Your Spouse Challenge is really, I feel like, the best gift I can give couples is, seduction has a connotation of sexy and intrigue, right? But really it just means to powerfully attract. Seduce means to powerfully attract, right? And so when you started your relationship, you were powerfully attracted to each other. And this is just 5 days where you prioritize your relationship and you get that powerful attraction back. You learn the skills and strategies and frameworks to really reinforce that attraction that you have for each other, and learn how to get through all of the difficult times, prioritizing each other and your marriage. So it's a free 5-day challenge. I host it in a Facebook group. I do it a couple times a year. The next one will be in October. And it's just really a lot of fun. You come in and you learn how to really step into your power. You learn how to express your needs and desires for connection. And then you learn how to make date night a priority and to keep that as a priority throughout your marriage. So that's what we do in the Seduce Your Spouse Challenge.
Yeah, and one of the things that makes all challenges work is the accountability factor, right? When you're accountable to a group and to a person, such as yourself, then you're going to do it, and you're making it very easy because it's only 5 days, and it's free, and it's you offer a Facebook group where you can ask your questions, interact with you directly. That's just a neat way that you're making it possible for people to experience and get a taste of it. And then if they want more, they can connect with you further beyond that, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
We did have one question that somebody asked us on LinkedIn, so maybe we'll throw that at you.
Yeah. Can I still learn about intimacy even though I'm not married? Also, how do I know that if I meet a girl in the future that the intimacy will be there?
Oh, that's a great question. So a lot of times I get the question, how can I prepare for marriage, right? And I always say, become the partner you wish to find. So work on yourself, learn about yourself, become intimate with yourself. So absolutely, yes, creating intimacy with yourself is so important. Getting to know your likes. Like one of my favorite movies of all time is The Runaway Bride, right? So if you've seen it, she keeps kind of morphing into the partner that she finds. And so she can't ever get married because she doesn't really know herself. She just kind of turns into whoever she's dating, right? And it's not until she sits down and figures out what kind of eggs she likes and what she likes to do in her spare time all by herself that she really can then join with a partner. And so one of the biggest problems when we get married is that we this idea of two become one, right? We start to lose ourselves in our partnership, which is not conducive to real intimacy and passion in a marriage. What we want to do is become a big full version of ourselves that we choose to share with another person who's a big full version of themselves, right? And so yes, creating intimacy with yourself is so important while you're single. And then if you meet a girl in the future, how will you know if the intimacy will be there? Well, you have conversations with them, right? And you talk about it. And if you both prioritize it and make it important and are willing to make it a priority in your relationship, I love this quote by, I think it's John Gottman, where he says, great sex is not rocket science. It's just, you have to be able to talk about it and you have to prioritize it. So if you meet a woman and she can talk about it and she's willing to prioritize it, then you're probably good as gold.
Awesome.
Good answer.
Yeah. My goodness, the time has flown by so quickly. So we just have a few minutes left. So we want to thank everybody who's joined us today and put some comments in the chat and ask questions. And so I know that a number of you who are watching it either live with us or on a replay are going to want to find out more of what Monica can offer you, because lack of intimacy is really a pandemic, as far as the marriage realm is concerned. And so, Monica, what is the best way for our viewers to connect with you, to find out more about all the things that you offer? Because we've just touched the surface with the Date Night Journal and with the Seduce Your Spouse Challenge. There's a lot more that you can offer them. So tell people how they can connect with you.
Yeah, so you can find me all my intimacy and marriage resources at my website, www.onthebrightersideofmarriage.com. There you can link to my podcast, which is On the Brighter Side Marriage for Entrepreneurs. And I love hanging out on Instagram. My handle there is at MoniTanner1. But you can find all of that there linked on the website. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys.
Oh,
Well, thank you. Yeah, for sharing all this. I learned lots.
yeah. So it's been a real treat to have you, Monica. And we will definitely have you on again as we keep moving down the road. We're newbies in this whole business of interviewing and doing live streams. You're a pro at this, and so so we'll have more opportunities to interact with each other, and we look forward to doing that. And so, friends, let's just give it up for Monica Tanner, intimacy sexpert, for joining us today. And so exactly. So we will just have Monica in the green room for a minute while we finish up the live stream. And so friends, there we go. Okay, there we are. Okay. All right, so just to finish up, friends, if you joined us late, just let you know who we are.
Yeah, we are marriage mentors, Jiva and Salojana Sen, and we guarantee breakthrough for couples on the brink of breakdown in as little as 10 weeks. And if you'd like to know more about what we do, you can go to thesams.ca. And if you need help with your marriage, simply send us a direct message with the words "no divorce" and we'll follow up with you.
And sometimes you may not need any help yourself, but there may be somebody that that could use our help. And if that's the case, just get them to go to our website or send us a message, like a direct message like that, or go to our website, and then there's an application form that they can fill out. They can just tell us, because there's a question we asked them: did somebody tell you about us? And that way, you can help them out as well. And just so we do express our appreciation to you in the form of a referral reward when you send somebody our way. All right. So I want to thank all of you on YouTube and LinkedIn and of course Facebook, all three platforms, for joining us today. And so, as we always do, we will end with a blessing, and I think it's your turn, Slogan.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this time, Lord, that we can come together in your name, and thank you for bringing and connecting us with Monica, and thank you for speaking through her. Father, I pray that each and every one who participated and each and every one who's going to listen to this in the future will benefit from it, from every little nugget. And I pray in Jesus' name that none of the marriages will be all the marriages will be restored. Anyone who's going through challenges, yeah, because Father, you have an answer to all of our challenges, and none of them will be left behind. So, Father, we thank you and praise you, and we pray that you will be with each one of us. I pray that those who are married will be a blessing to each other, and will make time for each other, and let our spouses know that they are very important, because you brought us together and you want the best in our marriages. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Yeah. All right, everybody. Have an awesome week, and we will see you next week. Stay tuned on whatever social medium or media platform you connect with us to find out the theme. And if you do have a theme, want to suggest a theme, then send us a direct message, and we will follow up on that. Obviously, we value your privacy and confidentiality. So if it's something of sensitive nature, we're not going to mention you by name, but we will definitely use the question that you send us or the theme that you suggest. So God bless you. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.